dug out of the back garden. And the prisoner writes back, "Dear wife, now is the best time to plant the lettuce." So this really illustrates that being smart sometimes needs simple ideas, but being able to implement them later. So let me finish with reiterating again that in today's interconnected world, even a small innovation in a marginal village in the middle of nowhere can help to sort out global issues. And it is the power of ideas and about that and these conversations that can bring these ideas to the world stage. So I'm very happy that we have excellent panel, and 3 panels actually today. We are starting with a panel led by Vass, who is the vice chair. In the post-pandemic urban life, Vasil will introduce all the other distinguished speakers. Later, we will have a panel on how can batteries power sustainable development, because batteries really are at the core technology underpinning the shift to energy decarbonization and transport systems, and could become a game changer in efforts to curb climate change. And Slovaks actually, with its Innobat, are bringing one of the most innovative batteries to the place. So if you want to hear more about that, it's the second panel later today. And the third panel deals with the equality driven by technology, because we really have learned also during the pandemic that digital technologies have proved to be crucial in tackling the effects of COVID-19 pandemic. And many of these innovations, the digitalization, whether it's in healthcare, whether it's in schooling or remote work, will stay with us for years to come. And that will be the third debate today in the afternoon. So without any further ado, let me pass the floor to your friend Vasil, and please introduce the rest of the speakers, and have a nice conference today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, and good afternoon to all of you, not only in this audience, but also those who are watching probably through streamlined distribution of this event all over the world, because this is the World Expo, it's not a Slovak Expo. Although Slovakia is part of it, and as Róbert already described, the innovation is part of the DNA of Slovakia, so we believe that this is a contribution which we can bring to the world itself. Before I go to the panel itself, just a few introductory comments. We want to make this event and discussions very interactive. So if you take this QR code, or if you go into slido.com or GLOBSEC website, you can actually use the application of Slido to be able to put questions, ask questions, and be part of this discussion wherever you are. And this is really an international event, so please don't hesitate to be active. We want to make this a very interactive and engaging event. As already Róbert mentioned, we will have 3 different panels. The first discussion that we are starting now is focusing on the issue of so-called rethinking post-pandemic urban life. And I think that now, after COVID, although we still face some of the additional waves of COVID, we can see that this pandemic had a really important impact on our lives of each individual, but certainly on the lives of people in the cities, in the regions, in rural communities, and around the world. So today we have, in the panel, we have 3, I believe, excellent speakers, very good mix of public sector, of private sector, technology-driven company which is coming with new ideas. And I think this is a good mix which will help us to drive the discussion itself. Obviously, we'll be very open and hope to have more questions from you, from the audience, and also those who are watching us. So let me introduce the panelists. Juraj Droba. Juraj is regional governor of the region of Bratislava. Martina Sladejová is the group leasing director from Gravis, the company which is one of the main real estate developers not only in Slovakia but also in Europe. and Martin Raploš, CEO of Aquila. Very interesting company. I think if you want to hear more, you'll certainly hear more, but you can find much more on their website. So the question which we'd like to discuss now is what is the impact, what has been the impact of COVID on urban life, on the urban planning and management? How does technology help to cope with the impact of COVID, and how we can rebuild, in a way, our communities in the way that they could be more resilient in the context of this or any future pandemics. So maybe, Juraj, if I could start with you as the head of the Bratislava region. Bratislava and the region itself has been so far, I would say, very successful in dealing with COVID and impact of COVID. So maybe if you could share with us what have been, in your opinion, what were the main reasons why you were successful, and what are the main lessons that you could share in this audience, but also maybe internationally, please.
Thank you, Vasil, and thanks everybody, especially the Slovakian Pavilion and to GLOBSEC as such. By the way, we are talking about presenting the best we have in our country, and maybe some of you don't know, but GLOBSEC is one of the 5 best and biggest global security conferences around the world. It became a brand itself, and it's presenting Slovakia around the world in its best light. So I give you big compliments, Róbert, and Rastokajem and all the other people who are behind it, and Vasil and a few others. The question you asked is how we handled the pandemic and how we are still handling it, and what are the learnings from the way we did it. I think in the beginning there was a well-informed, very unpopular decision to shut down the schools, the high schools which we operate in Bratislava region. There were 57 high schools, and we had the first positive case in a little village near Malacky. And at the same time we saw approximately, according to the roaming data, 7,000 people returning from northern Italy in February and March of 2020 to Slovakia. And we somehow felt, when I went to the pandemic commissions before, and it was still the outgoing government of Pellegrini, and I just saw that these people are simply not willing to take any unpopular step, and they were just talking and talking, and I think if we didn't smash the fist on the table, they would keep talking for the next 1 week, at least before they did some measures. So we decided, okay, let's do it. The parents will hate us because they will have to stay home, but let's shut the schools, and I think we will be the first cube of the dominoes. And that's exactly what happened. So we shut the schools in Bratislava region, and it took only 12 hours for the rest of Bratislava to shut down, and then it took about 2 more days to the central government to make a decision to shut down the country. So the first wave of pandemic was extremely successful. There were only, I say only because every life matters, but there were only 28 dead people, casualties in the first wave of pandemic, and I think Slovakia was, maybe except of some Caribbean or Pacific little islands, we were probably the most successful country in the world tackling and handling the pandemic. This was before the vaccination. Then came the whole nation testing. I was completely against it. Nevertheless, I decided that if we must do it, then let's do it the right way. We organized our own testing stations, and we proceeded with testing in a kind of a very comfortable manner where people felt okay. They didn't feel absolutely disgusted by having to go through such a procedure ordered by the government of Matović at that time. And after that, we became the leaders in vaccination. We organized huge vaccination center at the National Football Stadium. And here I have to say, and you may be surprised, but I really felt that the management of the stadium and the owner of the stadium, which, as many of you know, is quite controversial figure in Slovakia, was absolutely supportive. And for almost no rent and no money, he basically gave us the stadium to do good to the public. So I have to give the thanks and compliments also to this group of people at this management. And we've so far vaccinated over 300,000 people in our big vaccination center. and we basically drained the market. There are no more people who are willing to get vaccinated, but we didn't give up. We shut down temporarily the vaccination center. Now we are opening it again for the third shot. But in the meantime, we did two other things which nobody else was doing before us. First of them was a mobile vaccination unit. It's kind of an ambulance car which comes to your village almost like family frost. You know that at 2 o'clock it's going to be by the church in this village and 3 o'clock in this village. And they come and we make it easier for immobile people and for old people not to have to take a bus to Bratislava and to get lost, but they get the vaccination directly in their little village. And what we do also is we opened a small secret vaccination center in our park, because we found out that many of these people who are not vaccinated, some of them would like to be vaccinated, but they have a dominant mobbing member of the family who basically tells them not to get vaccinated. So what we are doing now is we provide secret vaccination to those who don't want to tell anybody that they are vaccinated, but they can still get vaccinated. And this brings us like 30 to 50 people per day that we vaccinate in Bratislava. That's why we are now at 80%. And we, even if the number of infected is high, we still don't fall into the black bracket. We can still keep the restaurants and keep the business open. And this is very important for me as a liberal politician. Okay, so the learning is that I think the self-government or samospráva or local governments can do a much better job. I feel more responsible to people that I personally know. If you are a prime minister or a minister, there is 5.4 million voters or people who are somehow expressing their opinion. In my case, it's only 640,000. And if you are a mayor of the little village, then you know everybody by name. And you have to look these people in the eyes tomorrow and walk in the village without being beaten up. That's why you behave much more responsible. This is the moral, and my commitment is to keep being the leader in fighting the pandemic until we kill it forever. And I think the only way to do it is repeated vaccination.
Thank you. Thank you, Governor, for sharing these lessons. It seems to me that I think part of your success was that you were always at least one step ahead of dealing with different aspects of COVID and coming up with some innovative ways how to do it. Even before it was a kind of national approach, whether it comes to testing or vaccination and so on, but this may be then later for the discussion. Also, I have already received the first question, which will be mostly to you, but others as well, which is how will future cities differ from the current ones due to pandemic? So we may start discussion after the introductory speeches by the panelists with this question. But let me go to Martina Slabejová, the Group Leasing Director of the HB Realis. It's a Slovakia-born real estate development company, which has since then become at least European, maybe in the future global real estate company, developer, a very successful one. So maybe if you could share with us what in your opinion has been the impact of COVID on the way how you look at developments, especially in terms of development and real estate in the cities, in urban areas, and any lessons that you can share with us from your company point of view.
Sure, thank you very much. And firstly, I would like to really congratulate Mr. Jorba how they managed the vaccination. As a citizen, it was really good experience. So congratulations to your team. I know these people personally, and they did really good job. So HB Realis, we are one of the biggest developer in the Europe area. Our developments and projects are in London, Berlin, Warsaw, Bratislava, obviously, and Budapest. And I have a huge respect to talk about the development, future of the development here in Dubai, because this is really a place where to learn the new things, and also where to learn how to avoid probably some mistake for the future. And it's spectacular to come to Dubai for the developer company to see all those beautiful projects which are delivered here. Now, we are thinking as a company a lot, and it was before the COVID as well, how to develop the future of our projects. And this is really like crucial question. Also, we need to understand what are the outcome of the pandemic and how we should implement those learning into our future projects. And at the same time, it's all about the data. And as a developer, we understand very well that to have the accurate data is most important for us right now. Why? Today, 50% of the people, as you, probably the majority of you, is living in the cities. By the 2050, it will be 70% of the people. And people are, of course, in the risk by the many, many threats which are impacting us every day. If we talk about the pollution from the noise and from the air, 100 million people is affected by the pollution, and of course it has a direct link to our health and diseases. The same it is with the light pollution. 80% of our sky is illuminated, which has not only the bad impact on our environment, but it has also horrible impact on our health. And of course, with the COVID and after COVID, we can see the increase of the stress, of the illnesses, cancer, and it's not a surprise that in the cities, this percentage is at 20% more than in the areas outside of the city. Now, as a developer, we were lucky to think about before the COVID came into the scene. We were spending a lot of time to think about what is good for our customers, what is the needs of our customer, and our company, I can say, is user-centric company. So we were able to develop the solution and implement the solution to our offices premises, which proved after especially COVID that it was the good direction. For example, to be concrete, and then I thought that we can continue afterwards. During the pandemic, we are using as an employer of the HP Reavis the ID card, or the entry card of the company, and as a technology solution, we bring kind of the digital twin. So we are monitoring our employers, and of course they sign the contents, where they are, yeah, and how they are using the space. That was the main reason to know, as a also workspace advisory company, to know how our people, our own people, are using the concept. So based on this experience, we are able to advise our customer how to do their premises. During the COVID, we were using the card to detecting the people with the illness. So if somebody was ill, we called the office manager, and the office manager informed other people who met the person that there was this infection, and the people stay at home or they go to the doctor. So this is just one of the solutions. The other one is, I mentioned, the air pollution, noise, etc., and data. What we utilize in our offices and offices of our customers are sensors who are monitoring many things, but also the CO2 detection. And in the meeting rooms, we are able to alert our customers or us as employers when the CO2 level is not going to the direction, and we should probably then activate our ventilation, etc., to make sure that the people are working in the healthy environment. So there is a lot of those examples coming from HP Reavis and the other developers. It's not just us who is thinking this way. And nowadays, we see the very, very big focus, especially coming from the Western Europe, which is related to the net zero carbon in the operation, but also the net zero carbon in the embedded. And those are the huge topics which we are discussing now with the other companies, with the other developers and the workspace advisory companies, and we would like to build those type of the solution to our project. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Katia. We started this very interesting topic where I would like to then come back during the discussion time, which is about the impact of buildings on overall CO2 footprint, because we know that almost 40% of the CO2 production is actually generated by buildings globally. So it is a big issue, and without dealing with this, we cannot get into the CO2 neutrality, etc. So let's maybe deal with that later on during the discussion time. But now let's go to Martin Rapos. Martin is CEO of Acular, which is, I don't know whether to call it startup or scale up. But anyway, it's a very, very interesting, very dynamic, growing company. Technological company, originally from Slovakia, but becoming more and more global, coming up with new solutions. But please, maybe you can explain about the company, but especially how it relates to the topic itself in terms of urban development and impact of COVID and technology.
Thank you very much, Vasil. Appreciate, and also thank you, Robert, for inviting us from the GLOBSEC think tank. Truly, as you said, we became over the past 4 years a global company, and that is actually mainly due to what happened in 2019, because that has speed up a lot of the processes, and especially the trend towards digitization. So we started the company in 2017, 2018, and we started visualizing. We started visualizing using augmented virtual reality. That needs to be done with the use of 3D models. And we are focusing, because of our background, we are focusing on the real estate and construction industries. Now, these industries are long-term underserved by the innovation. And because, you know, in construction, you've been doing things, you know, in a certain way for 100 years, and it's slowly changing. And in the real estate as well, everything was growing, and there was not much need for innovation globally. There are exceptions, such as our partners from HB Reeves, of course, but in 2019, 2020, we've seen a big change, especially a change towards efficiency. So efficiency in planning, efficiency in communication, efficiency in delivering and actually constructing, and being able to deliver reliably and to communicate also remotely, because people were not always able to go and see for themselves or go to physical meetings. And not least, be able, as Martina said, be able to leverage the data that you have in the building. Before pandemics, it was more of a innovation play. Now it's becoming a must. You need to know where people have been. You need to know how they interact. You need to know how your space is used, and obviously you can turn that into your facility value add, and you can make money on top of it, right? So when I think of COVID, and when I think of the post-COVID world and how we plan and develop, I'm thinking of 3 areas really. And Ocular is a digital company. Our motto is to digitize the world. We want to have a digital representation of everything eventually, so maybe in 10 years or so. We started with buildings and everything that is in the buildings and everything that moves in the building, all the equipment, people, etc. So I think of 3 areas. First, when you are thinking of building something, yeah, you have a conceptual vision. You can put it on paper, you can put it in a 3D model. You can also communicate that. You can communicate that in a matter that, in a way that hasn't been really usually done before. You can communicate with virtual, mixed reality, augmented reality. You can communicate with video fly-throughs and stuff. That's all done through digitization of your future assets. Second, construction. When you are in the construction, when you make the decision to actually build something, you still do value engineering during the construction and the pre-construction. You're making decisions based on what you see. You need to see that in reality. You need to have your stakeholders, on board with every decision, and they're required to see more now than they used to. So to give you an example, one of our clients who's refurbishing the LaGuardia Airport in New York, they have a request to provide 100 renders to show how the terminal is going to change. 10 years ago, that would have been 3 renders, because people just wouldn't, just change the terminal. Now you need to communicate everything. So during construction, you can increase efficiency, and there are reports by McKinsey and other think tanks which say you can increase efficiency by 50-60%. And improve your communication with your stakeholder, with your investor, every step of the way, by communicating and by sharing your 3D model, your updated 3D model, if this is done easily, right? So before recently, it wasn't that easy. I mean, you would need a month or 2 to actually update everything. Now we're updating stuff overnight. When we speak about 3D models, by the way, a fun fact, there's been more 3D models created in the world since 2019 than in the entire history of humankind before. So you can clearly see the trend. So in the past 2 years, we've created many more much more 3D models than any year before, and obviously, it's an exponential rise. And not least, obviously, the digital twins. So once you have a thorough digital representation of your asset that you are building or that you are about to rebuild, you can connect live data. Once you connect live data, as Martina said, you are able to leverage all of your learnings from the operation of the building, and you can predict, you can plan, you can simulate. And we're going to talk about some of our use cases that we've done around the world, and some of the examples. And therefore, you can create a better space, safer space, and you can manage the space more efficiently. So that's my 3 aspects of digitization. I'm happy to also introduce some of my clients here that represent every step of the way. So we've got Rudy Arnaz that came all the way from Florida. That is one of our clients with his amazing luxury villa concept, which is taking the concept of luxury residential into the next stage. He's using Ocular to digitize and to show how exactly it's going to look like. By the way, downstairs we have an exhibition, you can go and check it out. It's really, really nice. We've got a large construction company from Dubai that has been using our augmented reality, and I'd like to welcome Diwal here. Thanks for coming. They are using augmented reality every day on the site to uncover any misinstallations or any discrepancies from the 3D model, from the BIM model. Extremely innovative company, very well BIM versed, and BIM savvy, and obviously their clients, the developers, are leveraging, and are taking the benefits of this approach because they can see every day what has changed, and they can actually see physically on the construction site. And of course, digital twins and flexibility for workspaces that we're working on with Martina and her teams around Europe for the past 2 years. So we're going to discuss some of that later on. So that's my take, and thank you for being here. Let's discuss.
Thank you, Martin. Thank you very much. So great that you brought your clients to the seminar. We appreciate that, and thank you for being with us here. I think what you just described, I think
They came for the lunch.
They came from lunch. For Prince of the Housekeeping. Okay, that's great. Whatever is the reason, great to have you. And I'm also very happy to see that there is this process of what I would say kind of democratization of the rural urban development and construction itself, because you get, as we described, many more stakeholders engaged in the process of designing and management of buildings and real estate by utilizing the technology. So I think that's very good. Now let's move to the discussion part. We have about 20 minutes left, which is, I think, a big success, and I want to thank the panelists for being on time. This is for moderator a great advantage when we can have also discussion, not just a monologue by panelists. I got quite many questions from or through Slido from different people in the audience, but I guess also those who are watching us. And I will try to kind of group them according to the topics. So I will start, Juraj, with you as the representative of public sector, let's say. And then I'll maybe at least 3 questions which I believe are very relevant to you, or you may know the answers and your views, but of course others are also welcome to participate. So one is, how will future cities differ from the current ones due to the pandemic? So one question. Second question is, will global urbanization continue after the COVID experience? And the third one is, in a way similar to this one, do you observe an outflow of people from the cities in Slovakia due to remote work? So maybe these 3 you can somehow combine. Not easy, but how do you feel about this?
I think I will talk a little bit and reach out into the business of my 2 colleagues, where you can really see on the real estate prices and on the behavior of the real estate players what's happening in the big cities. and I will talk about Bratislava. First of all, you can see some of the largest real estate companies alternating the formerly planned office space turning into residential. So this means that companies figured out that they actually don't need to have people inside their offices and in their headquarters, but people can work from home, and it's much cheaper for the companies. So I think this will be the trend for the future as well. Also, you can see when you look at the price of the real estate in Bratislava, it's exorbitantly high, and it's still going up. And people like you are asking until when, and can we still start constructing another apartment building before it's gonna go down? Well, I think I'm not an expert on real estate, but I think that these prices in the attractive locations will simply not go down. The curve may turn into a flat line after a while, but I think it's still gonna go up a little bit, and it's just outrageous that you now pay 7,000 or 8,000 euros per square meter in the central Bratislava, and you used to pay 3 or 4 10 years ago, and 3 was a lot 10 years ago. So so this will somehow change also the demand for public transportation. And COVID was very unfortunate because it turned people away from the public transportation and pushed them back into personal cars. And Bratislava is facing a serious traffic jam problem and other problems related to high traffic. For example, 40% of the air pollution from CO2 emissions from cars is actually happening in Bratislava for the whole Slovakia. So Bratislava accounts for 40% of the air pollution from personal passenger cars versus 60% of all the rest of the country. For example, first-class road from Pezinok to Bratislava accounts for more than 25,000 vehicles per day. If you look at if you know Slovakia, D1 highway between Poprad and Levoča has the same number of cars, and that's a serious big highway. So the traffic is really becoming very unbearable in Bratislava, and my advice is to invest as much as possible into improving the infrastructure and also trying to build the next rail, because the problem with railways, everybody says, okay, let's go railways, it's more environmental, it's faster, it's cleaner, etc. But the problem with railways is that you cannot actually put any more trains on some of those rails. So there's like every 3-minute interval, and of course you have the priority of the international trains, and then you have the first-class trains, Slovak, and then only you can have the regional and local trains, and then you have the cargo trains, which usually operate at night, not to jam the rail. So the buses are a solution, since we do not have the metro, and I think we will never have the metro. I think we will have to stick to the buses, and it's going to be seen if the buses will be driven by electricity, by hydrogen, or whatever, nuclear maybe in the future. But the buses are the only solution. I'm not happy about it because they also jam the traffic, but they jam it much less. 40 people in one bus is definitely better than 40 people in 30 passenger cars, etc., etc. Medicine, the medical services, I think COVID brought a lot of improvements in the telemedicine. Now you can consult things with your doctor over the phone or over a video call, and he can also send you things by email or by any other kind of messaging. What is very good in Slovakia, and I'm proud that we did it quite fast and quite successfully, is the e-prescription. Now you can just come with your personal ID into any pharmacy around Slovakia, and the doctor can actually over the phone prescribe you the medicine, and in 3 minutes or 2 minutes you can pick it up in the pharmacy without the need of a handwritten thing. And this will keep going, because then you don't need to see the doctor. You lower down the need for personal contact and infection. As far as schools, of course it was difficult, especially for the lack of social contact for the children. But what helped is that there may be an immediate need to switch to the distance teaching, and this pushed us into investment into ICT for the schools. So the schools are becoming more digital, and I'm glad about this, and I'm hoping that we will not need to go back to the distance teaching, but you never know, so it's better to be prepared, and it's better that the teachers are equipped with the new notebook computers and other technology where they can be in contact with the children. So I summed up the areas which I'm responsible for, and I think that's enough as an answer for all three questions.
Thank you very much. Anybody from the audience here, of course, please feel free to raise your hand and ask questions if there are any. For the time, I will continue also with the questions here and also any remarks on the previous ones. But Martina, while you will comment on those, also additional questions from through Slido. One is, how do you see the office's requirement and developments of offices post-pandemic?
That's what I want
That's
to
what
comment.
exactly. But there is additional one for you, which is other policies or approaches that are already being implemented or incorporated into urban management planning as outcomes of the pandemic. So any impact of pandemic on policies related to planning. So please.
So firstly, I would like to comment on that situation with the offices, because when the first wave came, it was like a shock for everyone. And of course, there was prognosis related to the real estate and especially the office area. That you are done, guys. Yeah, you will die. This is the end of the business. But this was like first reaction, which of course like developed during the time and show us many things which are very important right now for us and also for the companies and our customers. Firstly, I believe that the COVID built a lot of awareness, and people didn't care so much about the healthy, greenery, well-being in the offices. Now, COVID a little bit helped us to bring those topics to the tables of our customer and to push them a little bit to have the interest about those topics, to understand how important it is to have the greenery in the offices, how important is to have the quality of the material used for the construction. And of course, it is related to the price, but it's about the health of the people. Did you know that we are spending 90% of our lives in the inside of the building?
90%.
90% of our time. It's horrible number. And of course, like we need to balance and we need to bring the things. Did you know that if you have the view from the windows, you are doing the test, and you have the view from the windows, you are doing it 19% quicker than if you are doing the same test in the room without the windows. And those are the not expertises of our company. If you know the Sweco, the Swedish company, who is working in the workspace area, they have really good reports related to these aspects of the life and aspects of the external and internal time which we are spending. And of course, after some time, after the COVID, people start to realize that there is many threats related to the not coming to the office. And those are related to the, for example, the new headcount, who were staying alone without any support of their colleagues, especially for the young people who felt lonely. And the loneliness is one of the illness which is, of course, growth past this, and this is really dangerous kind of the illness. So bringing people back to the offices, bringing also the social interaction, and it's supporting people to be creative, to be more productive. And now, what we realize that if we are able to deliver through the digital solution the safety and confidence people to come back to the offices, the people love to come back to the offices. For example, the HBR we didn't stop. Of course, we couldn't because there were many important projects which we had to deliver. But with all those insurances to the people that they can come and the environment is safe and healthy, it was much more easier. So there is no black future for the offices, I believe. There is just, we need to think on how to transform the offices into something new. And we call it like hybrid way of the working. We'll never go back to that stage before the COVID. However, I believe that this will support the type of the days where the people can choose how they would like to work. When I need to be in the office, when I need to be, I can work from home, and to find the combination and the right combination together with the organization. And it's not easy, I have to say. We have already a few experience with the banking customers, with the IT companies, and it's not easy to really set up the right kind of the organization after the COVID, and right approach how to work and how to start the organization. So there is a lot of consultancy to knowing the company, to knowing to working with the HR of our customers, to understand the company and really to planning how they should work in these new environments. And in terms of the policies, I believe that there will be a lot of new type of the policies, and we already see the kind of the new legislation related to the zero carbon, especially. And gladly we see from our customers that they are pushing us as the developers that we should bring those type of the projects. So this is kind of the now most discussed area, and especially I mean that our London office is spending a lot of time on it because somehow the legislation is created a lot in the London nowadays and in the Brussels as well. So we can expect a lot of things related to this particular topic, which I'm personally very glad that we need to invest and spend time on the net zero carbon in the operation and that.
And there is of course a lot of public financing also from the European sources, the recovery plan especially. There is quite a big allocation for building reconstruction and renovation.
Well, here I believe that.
Good opportunity.
Yeah, and I believe that here it's very important to work together with the governments in general. And I think we have a lot of good examples. With Mr. Drova, recently we opened a new bus station in Bratislava and with the green roof. And it's not about the just station or just the green roof, but the mix of the experience which it brings to the people.
Excellent. Great to see this public-private partnership growing, which is certainly excellent. Now,
If I may just weigh in on
please,
some of
I
those,
have additional question for you as well. But please
Okay.
comment first.
Yeah, just a quick comment, because you mentioned several of the areas of our collaboration, which I'd like to just highlight, because from the innovation perspective, it's really important that we enable the planning and we enable the ability for the people to perceive how is that space going to look like, and to give them the flexibility, to help them understand the space that they will be occupying, and to also help them understand how the space can change flexibly, and how developers such as HB Reeves can enable them to see that the new space, the quality of the space, we can model, because once you have a 3D model, you can model and simulate airflow, people flow. You can simulate and do analysis on how people would have been moving around if you put certain layout in place, with all the things that we've done together on this and a number of other projects around the world. And being able to simulate, being able to test, and being able to use that data and to make actionable outcomes and decisions is imperative, I believe, in planning, because first you give confidence to your clients and citizens, and second, you help to make the best decision, and that saves cost ultimately.
Excellent. So, question which came through Slido is, and I think it relates to you because it's very much linked to the technology aspect, the impact. Basically, it says, pandemic also brought high prices for materials and by consequence housing, which is true. I think that's what we see everywhere, and sometimes worry, how our kids, my kids as well, how they are going to afford new housing. But we'll see. And the question is, are there new ideas how to make contemporary design more affordable by using new technologies? Anything on that? But Martina, of course, as well.
Well, from my perspective, it's really so we see a lot of our clients, and we have 6,000 clients on our platform. So Ocular is truly a global company. A lot of them are from modular construction. So using the modular approach obviously increases and it brings in the economy of scale. That helps. And one of our clients in New York is actually the first one in Brooklyn that created a modular skyscraper out of basically container looking like units, and each unit is a small apartment. So it's just one of the ideas.
Those containers are designed by specific clients.
The containers are designed in a factory by this client of ours, which is a real estate developer. And each one container is an apartment, and it's a modular approach. You can combine 2 or 3, but it's essentially the same, and that saves the cost. They have a big hangar factory, and they actually do create these units there. And then they use visualization technology. They obviously have a very detailed 3D model. They use our visualization technology to actually put it all together. And so we help them to streamline the process, be more efficient, and of course this brings the cost down. So any configuration you can think of in terms of materials, plumbing, checking of where the electricity and the pipes would go and connect, you can do all that in simulation. and you can actually, you can actually virtually build it before it's there.
Thank you. Martin, any points on this, on the affordability issue?
I would take it from the other point of view, and this is like affordability and to providing the people with the high quality offices through the flexibility. And this is also another topic which grew after the COVID especially. There is a lot of very good young startups, scale-ups. Martin started as the company now, he's running the global business. And at the beginning, they don't know how and how much they will grow. And then it's very important to offer them the flexible solution or scalable solution where they doesn't need to build really like the all office with the all services, and it's quite expensive for the starting company. On the other hand, we are trying to help them also as a community. Sometimes those people, those startups and scale-ups are focusing so much on their product that they somehow forget how to sell themselves, for example, to the venture capital. And we are trying to help them to build those presentations in front of the venture capital, like how to present them, their products, etc., etc. And that's why we are concepting our projects. We are always putting into it the flexible solution, which are for the startups, with the supporting the community, and secondly for the scale-ups and the little bit bigger companies where we are providing the fully fitted out offices, which are very, very standard, and the people can grow or they can decrease the number of the chairs they are buying from us because they don't know. What we found out is that this is an interesting solution also for the corporation, because sometimes they are running the huge projects and they doesn't need to, under the normal type of the rent, to take another rent, so they're using those flexible options for their things. So it's a combination of the things, and we see overall the market that the flexibility is a huge topic, and if the developer do not have the part of flexibility, it has usually have a problem. So.
And I must confirm it's a fantastic office. We're staying in one of your latest concepts called Cubes. It's amazing. Very, very good quality of the materials, and truly flexible, so you don't have a lock-in for years of contract. You basically can do a 6-month contract. Then you can decide to alter. And so, for example, what we're doing now, we're renting a house as well, so that people that would like to, or more of a, let's say non-office space, where people can just spend time, and then we have obviously the cube space, which is more of a really, managed office space. So because the hybrid workforce, they require different things, and so sometimes you just want to hang out, and be more social, and then have more of a familiar environment. Sometimes you want to work and concentrate and have wonderful air, and no CO2, that kind of stuff, to really focus on your important job or to take an important meeting.
Maybe you write on this issue of sustainability, because obviously there is environmental aspect of sustainability, and we spoke about how to decrease the CO2 footprint of buildings, which is always a very important issue. But there is also a social or financial aspect of sustainability. And as you mentioned already, that we do see, especially in the main areas of the countries, including Slovakia, but this is I would say global or at least European issue, that the prices of real estate are growing. This is creating groups of people for whom housing is not affordable anymore. Also the rental prices are going up. As you know, there are initiatives of some cities or regions where the introduction of caps on rental prices is being introduced. How do you see this situation? Because it does have obviously a social impact and something that politicians, whether it's central or local level, should be aware of and deal with.
I'd love to be a visionary and build these future wonderful castles, but in reality, my job description is a maintenance guy and a janitor. I'm at the stage where I'm fixing the windows and the roofs of the schools. I'm trying to convince people that you do not necessarily need to own a car if you live in the center of the city. I mean, you have options, and you have your bicycles and scooters and you name it. So it has a lot to do with the mentality of people and what we were used to for the past 50, 60 years. And of course, also the region tries to do things more sustainable. I mean, building the cycle paths is on the top of our agenda, and we are doing a pretty good job in terms of new kilometers and also reconstructed bicycle paths. Also the connectivity, you have the radial connectivity from the Městské části, from the districts of the city into the center, but then you also connect sort of like a circular connection of the neighboring city parts to each other. We try to do the green roofs, we try to plant new trees, we try to do the passportization of all the trees and bushes inside our property. So these are things that we are doing, and it's really a job where you go step by step. You can't become the visionary immediately. You have to do your homework 200 times over and over, and then Bratislava region is going to look a little bit better as it looked 4 years ago, but it's a big job ahead of us.
Great. Thank you very much. Any questions here from the audience? Inside, maybe some of the questions were already sent by Slido, so I don't want to repeat those, but if not, then we are actually just on time for the end of the panel. I would like to thank our panelists. I think the discussion clearly showed that building this urban development requires a sustainable approach, that staying ahead of the curve helps during these pandemics like COVID, and I think the region of Bratislava is a good demonstration example of this, how it can be done, and how to build a sustainable and resilient region and cities. And then, of course, how private sector, whether it's real estate developers or technology companies, how they can be partners in this project and in this process. So thank you all. Thank you for being with us, and also those who are not here. And looking forward to the next discussion. Thank you.
Thank you.